Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. In the heart of Port Sterling, a city plagued by corruption and despair, the air in the 13th precinct was thick with tension. It was a place where hope had long been extinguished, replaced by a pervasive cynicism that clung to the walls like a bad odor. The precinct was a microcosm of a broken system, and today it was about to face its reckoning. Marcus Thorne, the newly appointed police chief, stood at the threshold of the precinct, his presence a stark contrast to the environment around him. He was a man on a mission, determined to root out the corruption that had festered within the department. But today, he was not the chief. He was just another citizen reporting a stolen bicycle. As he approached the counter, he was met with the disinterested gaze of a young officer, her attention glued to her phone. "Help you?" she asked, her tone dripping with boredom. "I'd like to file a report," Marcus replied, his voice steady and calm. "My son's bike was stolen this morning." The officer gestured dismissively toward a chair. "Take a seat. Someone will be with you." "I prefer to stand," Marcus said, his demeanor unyielding. "Could you tell me who I'll be speaking with?" Before she could respond, Officer Frank Miller, a hulking figure with a reputation for brutality, emerged from the back room. His eyes narrowed as he assessed Marcus, a predatory glint flashing across his face. "What's this guy's problem?" he grumbled, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Wants to file a report." "Stolen bike?" "Asking a lot of questions," the young officer replied, her nervousness palpable. Miller approached, his swagger unmistakable. "You got a problem, pal," he sneered, his hand resting on his sidearm. "No problem, officer. Just trying to understand the process," Marcus replied, his voice unwavering. Miller's expression darkened. "You think you can just walk in here and start asking questions? This is the real world and respect is earned." The tension in the room escalated as Miller stepped closer, invading Marcus's personal space. "You don't have any rights in here unless I say you do." Marcus stood his ground, his calm demeanor infuriating Miller further. "Assaulting a citizen is a serious offense, Officer Miller. I suggest you take a step back." Miller's face twisted with rage. "You think a supervisor is going to save you? I'm what passes for God in this room." With that, he threw a punch, connecting with Marcus's cheekbone. Pain exploded behind Marcus's eye, and he staggered back, collapsing onto the floor. As he lay there, the ringing in his ears drowned out the chaos around him. Miller loomed over him, reveling in his perceived victory. "Now, are we clear on the rules? You show me respect, or I charge you with assaulting an officer." But in that moment, something shifted within Marcus. He pushed himself up onto one elbow, blood trickling from his split lip. "Get up, Miller," he said, his voice low and steady. "This is far from over." Miller's bravado faltered as Marcus reached into his hoodie, pulling out a small leather wallet. He tossed it onto the floor, revealing a badge that gleamed with authority. "Chief of Police," it read. The room fell silent, the air thick with disbelief. Miller's face drained of color as he realized the gravity of his mistake. "No, I didn't know," he stammered, his bravado crumbling. "Pick it up, officer," Marcus commanded, his voice cold as ice. Miller hesitated, then knelt to retrieve the badge, trembling as he held out to Marcus. "I'm so sorry. I thought you were just—" "Enough," Marcus interrupted, his voice firm. "This isn't just about you. This is about the entire department." As Miller stood there, a broken man, Marcus turned to the other officers in the room. "This is what happens when the oath we take becomes a joke. Today, we begin to rebuild the trust that has been shattered." He picked up the phone and dialed a number, summoning community leaders and journalists who had long been critical of the department. When they arrived, the atmosphere shifted. Reverend Finch, Maria Flores, and David Chin stood before the officers, their expressions a mix of shock and determination. "Chief Thorne, what happened?" Reverend Finch asked, his voice filled with concern. "I receive the authentic Precinct 13 welcome," Marcus replied, his gaze fixed on Miller. "Officer Miller here was just giving me a lesson in his version of community policing." As the community leaders absorbed the scene, Marcus revealed the evidence he had gathered against Miller and his corrupt colleagues. The room was filled with tension as he laid out the charges: racketeering, extortion, and conspiracy to distribute narcotics. Just then, a team of state police detectives and FBI agents entered the precinct, their presence commanding immediate attention. They moved with purpose, arresting Miller and the other implicated officers, dismantling the old guard piece by piece as the officers were led away. Marcus stood before the remaining members of the precinct. "This is the first battle," he declared, his voice resonating with authority. "The war for the soul of Port Sterling has just begun." In the quiet of his new office, Marcus allowed himself a moment of reflection. The bruise on his face was a painful reminder of the battle he had fought, but it was also a symbol of the change he was determined to bring. He knew that true justice was not a single act, but a continuous effort to rebuild trust and accountability. As he gazed out the city, he felt a sense of purpose. The road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to lead the charge. Port Sterling needed more than a hero. It needed a foundation of integrity and transparency. And today, with one calculated blow, he had laid the first stone. But the real test was yet to come. As the sun set over Port Sterling, casting long shadows across the precinct, Marcus knew that the fight against corruption was just beginning. He would need allies' courage and an unwavering commitment to justice. The community was watching, and he was determined to show them that change was possible. As he prepared for challenges ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that the most dangerous battles were still lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The stakes were high, and the path to redemption would be fraught with peril. Then, just as he was about to delve deeper into his plans, a knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Officer Jenna, a rookie who had been observing the chaos unfold. Her eyes were wide with a mix of fear and admiration. "Chief Thorne, I need to talk to you. It's about Miller and the others." Marcus motioned for her to enter, sensing that this could be the turning point he needed. "What is it, Jenna?" She hesitated, glancing back at the door as if afraid someone might overhear. "I've seen things, Chief. Things that could help you take down Miller and the corruption in this precinct. But I'm scared. They have eyes everywhere." Marcus leaned forward, intrigued. "Tell me everything. This could be the evidence we need to expose the rot in this department." As she began to speak, detailing the illicit activities she had witnessed, Marcus felt a surge of hope. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, the chance to gather the final pieces of the puzzle and strike a decisive blow against the corruption that had plagued Port Sterling for far too long. But just as Jenna was about to reveal a crucial detail, the lights flickered ominously and the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus's heart raced. He knew that the forces of corruption would not go down without a fight. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his instincts kicking in. "We need to be careful." The door creaked open, and in walked Officer Miller, flanked by two of his loyal cronies. The atmosphere shifted, tension crackling in the air. Marcus's mind raced as he realized they had come to silence Jenna before she could expose them. "Look who we have here," Miller sneered, his eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. "What's the rookie doing in here? Planning a little coup?" Marcus stepped forward, his voice steady. "You're out of line, Miller. This is a police station, not your personal playground." Miller's laughter echoed through the room, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Marcus's spine. "You think you can just waltz in here and change everything? You're just a badge and a hoodie, Thorne. You don't know how things work around here." As the tension escalated, Marcus felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This was the confrontation he had been preparing for, but he needed to be strategic. He glanced at Jenna, who looked terrified but resolute. "Enough games, Miller," Marcus said, his voice firm. "You're going to answer for your actions, and I'm not backing down." Miller stepped closer, his cronies flanking him like wolves ready to pounce. "You think you can take me down? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Just then, the door swung open again, and a group of community leaders and journalists entered, drawn by the commotion. The room fell silent as they took in the scene, Marcus standing defiantly against Miller and his thugs. "Chief Thorne," Reverend Finch called out, his voice filled with urgency. "We heard there was trouble. What's going on?" Marcus seized a moment, his heart racing. "Reverend, we're about to expose corruption that has plagued this precinct for too long. Miller and his crew think they can intimidate us, but we're not backing down. The community leaders stepped forward, their presence a powerful reminder that they were not alone in this fight. Miller's bravado faltered as he realized the tide was turning against him. "Get out of here, all of you!" Miller shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. "This is none of your business." But Marcus stood firm, emboldened by the support around him. "It is our business, Miller. We're taking back our community, and you're going to face the consequences of your actions." As the confrontation reached its boiling point, Marcus knew that this was the moment that would define his leadership. The stakes were higher than ever, and the outcome would determine the future of Port Sterling. And just as the tension reached its peak, a loud crash echoed from the back of the precinct, followed by the sound of shouting. The chaos had only just begun. Do you want to know the fate of the heroes? Please post part 2. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Your opinion and support are important to me. Leave it in the comments. Thank you.